Welcome to Horror School, boys and ghouls. I hope you brought your books. Alright, listen. We like to have some jokes here, but this class is important. It's a prereq for most of your other classes, so there is going to be a test at the end. You should probably take notes. This is Intro to Horror 1, Halloween. I will be going through and recapping the plots of all the Halloween movies, just in case you wanted to, get ready for the new one coming out next year, or you wanted to watch the one that came out in 2018, you wanted to get all caught up, and you didn't want to watch 11, 10, whatever movies to get to that point. So if you just watch this, take some notes, pass the quiz at the end, you'll be all set to know everything there is to know about the Halloween franchise. It's Halloween, 1963, Haddonfield, Illinois. Michael Myers is a little boy. He's sneaking around his house. He sees his girlfriend kissing her weird boyfriend, who for some reason is kissing her with Michael's clown mask for his Halloween costume on. It's really weird. Michael goes into the kitchen, grabs a knife, stabs her. Parents come home and they're like, "What's going on, Michael?" He takes his mask off. We see his face for the first time. This is Halloween. 15 years later, Michael has been transferred to Smith's Grove. His psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis, has been taking care of him all this time, hoping to figure out what makes Michael, so evil. They're transferring Michael. Michael crashes the car. He learns somehow he knows how to drive the car. This is explained in the novelization of the movie, which I guess some people were really concerned about this. He drives back to Haddonfield. In Haddonfield, 1978, those 15 years later, it's Halloween. Laurie Strode is our main character. She will be babysitting tonight. Her friends Linda and Annie are trying to make plans with her for what they're going to do. They're going to get up to some teen shenanigans. Laurie Strode is a 17-year-old girl. She has to drop a key off at the old Myers house, which is spooky because no one's lived in there in 15 years. And as she's doing it, Michael is there. He has killed a mechanic, gotten a jumpsuit, and he's gotten his old mask. So he sees her in there and it's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Dr. Loomis shows up, and from this point forward, if I'm not telling you what Dr. Loomis is doing, you can either assume that he is actively hunting down Michael Myers, or he's trying to convince people how important it is that they hunt down Michael Myers. So there's some stuff at school. We'll skip all that. It's Halloween night. Laurie is taking care of Tommy. Annie's with some other boy. She's babysitting. With some other girl. She drops the girl off with Laurie. She goes off with her boyfriend Paul. Linda and her boyfriend, who's I think name is Bobby. They're having sex. Bobby goes downstairs. Michael kills him, comes upstairs with a sheet and Bobby's glasses on. Kills Linda. Annie gets killed. Laurie finds her friends. They're all dead. Loomis is coming for Michael. Laurie goes back to the house that Tommy's in. Michael's in the house. She's trying to fight him off. She stabs him. He is attacking her. She stabs him again. She stabs him again. Loomis shows up, shoots him a bunch of times, I think 6 times. Michael falls off of a balcony. Loomis and Laurie agree that this man is the boogeyman. And they go over to the end of the balcony, and he's not there. And we see some different locations, and we hear his breathing. He could be anywhere. By the way, Michael in the first and second movie is played by a stuntman named Dick Warlock, which is just a super cool name. All right, Halloween 2, we pick up right where we left off. Michael falls off the balcony. He breaks into a neighbor's house, kills the neighbor. Laurie gets taken to a hospital. Dr. Loomis and the sheriff are searching for Michael. They think they see him, and they crash into a tree, pinning the man. The car explodes. The guy dies. It's not Michael. It is played by Dick Warlock also, but it's not Michael. So Laurie's at the hospital. She meets this ambulance driver, this paramedic named Jimmy. It's pretty cool. Michael overhears a news broadcast that tells him where Laurie is at the hospital. So he goes to hunt her down. Loomis goes to this elementary school. Michael's also at the elementary school, but at sort of different times. It's not like a direct attack. Loomis is finding this backstory about how there's some supernatural paranormal stuff. Yep, Michael goes to the hospital. He's killing security guards, nurses, cops, just all these people. That's just how it goes when Michael's around. It's a bummer, but what can you do? Laurie's having some flashbacks. She's remembering when she was a kid that she was... The Wikipedia article said she was with preteen Michael, but I'm pretty sure he was 8 years old in the first movie, and that's when he was taken to Smith's Grove. That was 15 years ago, and Laurie's 17 years old. That means she was 2, and somehow she has these memories. I don't know. Basically, we learned that Laurie and Michael are siblings. She was adopted, and I guess that's why he's trying to kill her. They come to get Loomis, and they're like, all right, you gotta go back to Smith's Grove, and he's like, I don't want to, and they tell him that Laurie is Michael's sister, and he's like, I know where he's going. Did I say Michael cut the power to the hospital? He did. Anyway, he's hunting them all down. There's like a big chase scene through the hospital. That's most of the movie, is just trying to get away. Him trying to get you. In the end, he chases... Oh. Laurie and the paramedic try to escape, and Michael kills him. Whatever. In the end, they try to escape. They go into a surgical room. They lure Michael in. Laurie releases all this like gas. Loomis blows it up. Laurie escapes. Michael's dead. Loomis is dead. Laurie is transferred off to a new hospital. Things are happy. It's a fitting end to the franchise. Crazy that they just made 2 movies, but it works well. Sorry, what? No. 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 Alright. Let's try to do this a little bit quicker. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. You know those 2 movies we just talked about? Well, those are movies in this movie. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who wrote the first two movies, decided that Halloween should actually be an anthology series about different things that take place on Halloween, because, you know, Michael Myers died at the end. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch is just a separate story. It's about, there's like this huge company that's trying really hard to sell these masks. This song keeps playing.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
It's really catchy, but it's kind of annoying too. They're just trying to get all these kids to buy these masks. This one guy finds out that the mask has like a little thing in it that shoots a laser that kills whoever's wearing it. So I guess they're trying to kill all these kids for corporate reasons. The same thing Disney's trying to do. It's a bunch of stuff. My dad and I watched it a while ago, and we didn't really like it. It was kind of boring. But that's the gist of it. Oh, also there's androids in this movie, and one of them is an assassin, and that's also played by Dick Warlock, so that's the hat trick for Dick Warlock. Some guy found out about the whole thing, and he tries to call and tell them to cancel, because there's like some sort of song or something that's going to trigger it. He tries to cancel it. We don't know in the end what happens. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. That movie we just talked about, forget that exists. Those first 2 movies that were movies in that movie actually did happen, and now Michael Myers is back. He's been in a coma for 10 years. They're going to transfer him to a new place. He learns that he has a niece who is Jamie. Her name is Jamie. And so he wakes up and he's like going back to Haddonfield. When will they learn to not transfer this guy? So Jamie, it turns out, is Laurie Strode's daughter. Laurie died in a car crash, and Jamie is living with some foster parents. She has a sister named Rachel, who is sort of our protagonist throughout this movie. Jamie's having these bad dreams, and she knows about Michael Myers, but she doesn't realize that the person in these bad dreams is Michael Myers. Rachel takes her into town. They're gonna get some Halloween stuff. Michael is in the same store as them, and he almost gets them, but they happen to get away. This time, Michael cuts off the whole town's power, learning that just cutting off the power at the hospital isn't enough. Loomis shows up, you know, he's doing his old thing, trying to tell people about how important this all is. Rachel finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her, which is a big bummer. So she goes and finds Jamie, and then they end up getting barricaded in a house because the boyfriend's dad is the sheriff, and they're with the boyfriend. Michael somehow sneaks into the house, and they realize that not only are they barricaded from the outside, but they're stuck inside. So the boyfriend has to give himself up for them to escape. They climb onto the roof. Jamie gets lowered down neatly, but Rachel falls down. A big mob has amassed at this point, and they come and take Jamie and Rachel away. But Michael gets onto the car and starts killing people one by one. Rachel has to drive. Michael's on top. He's trying to get in. She kind of swerves, throws him off. It seems like he's dead. He's on top of this mine shaft, I guess, even though it looks like a grave to me. And that's what I thought it was. And then Jamie goes over to him, and they're like, don't touch him, don't touch him. But she does touch him. Michael revives. They shoot him like a ton of times. I think Loomis shoots him 6 more times in the second movie, by the way. Just wanted to add that in here. And so Jamie and Rachel go home happy. Jamie's wearing a clown costume that looks very similar to what Michael was wearing in the first movie. She goes and almost kills her foster mom with a knife. Loomis sees and freaks out, and he tries to shoot her. I mean, a bunch of people stop him, and everyone's just kind of freaked out because they're like, oh no, is the Michael Myers thing passed on to her because she touched him? Maybe. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So it was a mine shaft. Michael crawls down through it, gets into a river. He finds some guy who lives on the river's house who I guess doesn't recognize him. They take his mask off, which sort of seems like a no-no in this series, but he's just like stuck there for a year. That's all fine. Jamie, because of psychological trauma, which, it's nice that we're actually addressing that, is in a children's hospital and she can't speak anymore. Rachel and her friend Tina come to visit her. It's all good and fun. Michael wakes up, he kills Rachel. Anyway, Jamie's having like these horrible dreams and everything. Loomis comes in and he realizes that it's because she has some weird psychological connection to Michael, and what he's going through is tormenting her, and so on and so on. Michael kills Rachel, like I said. He kills Tina's boyfriend, who's kind of an asshole, but Tina never even finds out about it. She goes to a party. She has these friends named Sam and Spitz, and at this time I want to mention that this is the actual music that plays when the cops are introduced in this movie.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
This is a horror movie, and that's the song that they chose. So, they're going to be a big help. She's at this party with Sam and Spitz. They're hanging out in this barn, like 50 feet away from these cops, but they're just in the car playing Crazy Eights or whatever. Tina leaves the friends. Sam gets stabbed through with a rake. It says a rake on Wikipedia, but I'm pretty sure it's actually a pitchfork. I don't know what the difference is, though, so I'm going to go with rake. And then Spitz gets decapitated with a scythe. At some point, Jamie realizes that Rachel is in trouble, so she takes her friend Billy, and they rush to go try to save her. They all connect, including Michael. Rachel sacrifices herself to let Jamie and Billy get away. They get to Loomis, who has a plan. There's a point earlier on where Loomis goes to the Myers house because he knows that Michael's going to show up there. He's sort of looking around. We see this symbol a couple times. We also see a mysterious man in black, and then we see that same symbol on Michael's wrist. So it's like, what is this all about? They take Jamie to the Myers house, and they're using her as bait. There's all these cops waiting outside. Michael shows up at the children's hospital and starts attacking there. So all the cops rush off, and Loomis is like, I see. Now it's time for our final showdown. Michael comes to the house. He's attacking them. Jamie's in mortal danger, except Michael gets tranquilized. It works. Loomis collapses from a stroke. Maybe he's dead for real this time. They take Michael off to jail. Jamie comes with to see that, okay, he's incarcerated. The jail explodes. Does Michael escape? We don't know. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, 6 years have passed between 6 and 5. And just for reference, the first 5 movies, there's only 11 years between them. So it seems like there's a bit of soul searching or something before this movie comes out. We're now in 1995, I believe. Anyway, it starts with, there's this weird cult. Jamie has been abducted into it. She and Michael were both taken on that fateful Halloween 6 years earlier. Jamie is pregnant. A nurse comes and helps her escape. At this point, I realized that Jamie was played by a different actress, and I thought that was just because I didn't realize that the 6 years has passed, so I thought it was just an age thing. But then I read that it's actually, they wanted to get the same actress who played Jamie, and she had herself legally emancipated so that she could play the role. They only offered her $1,000 for a week's worth of shooting time, which was less than she paid to get herself emancipated. So she didn't want to take the role. The studio made it seem like she was asking for a ton of money, but I think it's reasonable to want at least the same amount of money that you paid for the, you're not gonna, whatever. She escapes, she steals this guy's car, the guy gets killed. Sorry, guy. She drives off somewhere else. Loomis is visited by his old friend, Dr. Wynn, who's saying, hey, we want you back at Smith's Grove. Loomis is like, no, I'm all good. Don't really want to deal with that stuff anymore. They're listening to a radio show that's talking about Michael Myers. Jamie gets to this train station, bus depot. She calls into the radio show and she's like, Dr. Loomis, if you're out there, I need your help. Michael finds her, kills her, doesn't find the baby. And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Paul Rudd. He lives across the street from the original Myers house where Kara and Danny, I think their last name is Strode, they're the cousins of Laurie. Cameron died in the middle of the sentence, so let's try to get right back into it. Kara has a son named Danny. Her dad thinks he's a bastard. I guess he probably technically is, but the dad doesn't really have any role in this movie, so we can just forget about that. Paul Rudd lives across the street, and he's watching Kara through some sort of camera binocular setup. Despite that, they still become close later on. Whatever. Paul Rudd actually plays Tommy, the little boy who's being babysat in the first movie. He's obsessed with Michael Myers, wants to figure out what's making Michael the way that he is. He hears the radio show. He figures out that it's a train station. He goes to a bus depot, whatever. He goes there, finds the baby, takes it back home. Around this time, Loomis gets back to Haddonfield. A bunch of Kara's friends want, I guess Halloween has been outlawed in this town for maybe a good reason. I mean, it's not trick-or-treating that's causing this to happen. Whatever. Loomis finds Tommy. Tommy explains the situation to him. They have the baby. They hide it in his house. Kara, a bunch of her friends get killed. You know how it goes. Tommy gets Kara and Danny and takes them to her house, his house. He's got some creepy old landlady or whatever. And it turns out that she was actually babysitting Michael the night that the original killings happened, so that's fun. Michael comes to the house, he's looking around, and Kara's like, oh, thank God we're safe over here. But Danny escapes the house, goes over to the house, and Kara just sort of nonchalantly goes and checks for him, even though, this is her human son. She's just, walking around with a flashlight looking for him, as if Michael would care that you're slow. She has some interactions with Michael, pushes him down some stairs. Danny's trying to step over him. He gets, Kara's ankle gets grabbed. It's really close. They escape, go back to the Tommy's house. Everything's fine. The baby's safe, except it turns out the landlady is a member of this cult, and the man in black from the last movie is Dr. Wynn. He is the leader of a group of people who believe in something called Thorn, which is this, I think it's an Irish demon of some sort that it has to sacrifice its own family members for some reason. They believe that the baby is the final piece to this. Tommy believes this as well. Dr. Wynn is the one who's in charge of all of this. So they take all of these people, they lock Kara and Tommy up at Haddonfield. They take the kids. Tommy gets them out. Michael's chasing after them. There's this scene that they accidentally shot on the set of Nightmare on Elm Street. They get the kids, they flee to, some dead end. Michael chases them down. There's a ton of syringes that I guess have corrosives, but it doesn't seem super obvious to me. Tommy injects a bunch into Michael's back. The kids are hiding until one of them screams out and Michael turns and sees them. Tommy injects a bunch of stuff in them again. Loomis is like, you guys leave, I'll fight him off. So they escape. And the final shot is of Michael's mask on the ground, which probably means something? I don't know. So those 3 previous movies, we can just forget about them. This movie, Halloween H2O, 20 years later, is a sequel to the first 2 movies. So all 4 movies that have come between now and then, just forget about them. None of that even matters. There's a woman who comes to her house. It's been broken into. She's nervous. She calls the cops. She finds a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt who just wants to play hockey, but he's like, I'll go check out the house. There's nothing in there. It's been, some stuff's been thrown around, but it doesn't seem like anyone's there. He goes back home. The lady goes into her house, even though, as we learn, I just want to say that the last movie was the last one with Donald Pleasence playing Dr. Loomis, so rest in peace, Donald Pleasence. This woman worked with Samuel Loomis. She knows all about Michael, and still she decides to go into her house, look around. She finds that the file on Laurie Strode has been stolen, so she goes back to the neighbor's house because she's like, I need help. Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a skate to the face, which is pretty sick. His friend has also been killed. The cops finally show up, and the woman is killed as the cops are just on the other side of the window. Now we go to California, and we learn that Laurie Strode is alive, and she has a son named John. He wants to go on some camping trip to Yosemite, and she's not letting him. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. He's 17 years old, and, he just wants to go on some camping trip with his friends. We later learn that this is a camping trip that the entire school, except for John and Jamie Lee Curtis, and then it turns out a few of his friends, and a guidance counselor who was to stay behind to watch those friends are going. So, you know, there's 6 people on campus, 7 if you include the security guard, which you should. Anyway, Lori's alive. She faked her death. She has a new name now. I don't remember what it is. John tells his friends that he has to stay behind. They're like, all right, well, we'll stay back too. And one of his friends, who's like one of the horniest characters in the whole thing, he keeps talking about how they're gonna have like an orgy and all this stuff. And he has a girlfriend for some reason. It's pretty off-putting. They're all gonna stay behind. Lori goes into town. She's having dinner or lunch, I guess, with this guidance counselor. It's a very inappropriate relationship. He goes to the bathroom. She downs a glass of wine and then orders another one, so it looks like she didn't drink any of it. She's clearly having some problems. And this time there's a bunch of like jump scares where she thinks that Michael's there. And it's like, yeah, we know it's not going to be in the middle of town at the close to the beginning of the movie in broad daylight. Like, that's not how this would happen. But they keep doing it. John and his friends convince the security guard, who is LL Cool J, to let them out. They go. Mom bumps into them. She's pissed. She yells at LL Cool J. That night, it's Halloween, by the way. Lori is telling her boyfriend, Will, that's his name, by the way, who she really is, and he doesn't believe her, but she convinces him. The friends, they're partying. 2 of them get killed by Michael. You know how it is. He stole a car, came to campus. He just parked the car in front of the gate, and then LL Cool J goes out to look at it, and then Michael just walks right in, which, like, why is that how he would do it? Anyway, John and his girlfriend escape, find Lori. She has a plan. She's got a room with a wooden door that they can hide in. She's got a pistol that looks pretty small and has like 6 shots in it. So what is this gonna do? She's seen at least 12 bullets pumped into this guy. He comes after them. They fight him off some. Will gets the gun. He sees the figure. He shoots. He actually accidentally shoots LL Cool J. They all escape. Lori and Michael have a final showdown. He's like chasing her around. She's hiding under a table. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but whatever. She's an alcoholic. She's having issues. They have their final confrontation. She shoots him, stabs him, whatever. He falls off of a balcony, just like in the first one that she saw before, and still she decides that it's fine that she'll let him out of her view, and she goes downstairs and he's still down there. Paramedics come, put him on an ambulance. She steals a cop's gun, hijacks the ambulance, crashes the car off a cliff. They both go flying out of the car. Michael gets pinned to a tree by the ambulance. She's like walking up to him. He reaches out to her. They have a nice touching sibling moment. And she cuts his head off with the axe. And now Michael's dead. Alright, so Halloween Resurrection opens in a mental hospital. Lori has been in there for a few years or something. I don't remember how much time has passed. 3 years, I think. One nurse is telling another nurse about how she's in here because she accidentally killed an innocent man after Michael switched clothes with an ambulance driver. It's explained that his throat was crushed, so he couldn't say anything, but I don't know why he wouldn't take his mask off or why he reached out to her like that. Doesn't make a ton of sense, but anyway, also there's another inmate at the prison, at the whatever it is, who's obsessed with serial killers, and he gets loose. We learn that Lori has been spending time on the roof. They think she's a suicide risk. Michael shows up. Lori lures him to the roof. She sets up some trap, and she's about to kill him, but then she hesitates because she doesn't want to kill the wrong man again. He uses this opportunity to throw her off of the roof, which we see is like 20 feet tall, and there's a bunch of trees that break her fall, but somehow it kills her. Michael goes to the patient who is obsessed with serial killers and gives him his knife for some reason. That never comes back. That's the beginning of the movie. Then we meet these teens. Sarah is the main character. There's some other teens. Who cares about them? They've all been picked for this company called Dangertainment. They're going to be spending Halloween night in the Myers house. The company is run by Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks. At a certain point in the movie, I realized that Busta Rhymes didn't learn his lines. He just sort of knew what they were supposed to sound like and just kind of winged it.
Shit you come up with off the top of your head, boy. Why don't you just pat yourself on the back? Oh, wow, Johnny. Oh.
Anyway, when they tell Sarah this, she freaks out. She clearly has some sort of deep mental trauma that is never explored again. And we learn that she has some sort of internet boyfriend who they've been texting or whatever. She's got some old smartphone. I don't really know what it is. She can write on it and it turns into text. I don't know how it works. But he really just wants to stay home and watch her performance. And his roommate's like, no, bro, we gotta go to this Halloween party. So they go to the party, and the guy finds a computer. His online name is Deckard, by the way, so he's like a big Blade Runner fan, very cool. He finds a computer, and he's watching on there, and more people in the party start to come in. While they're setting up for all of this, Michael kills the guy with a tripod while Tyra Banks is just sort of dancing to music. She doesn't notice what happens. So we know that he is back. So they're in the house, they're exploring, they're finding all sorts of weird stuff, places that it looks like Michael was chained up as a kid, all this weird stuff, and slowly, one of them gets killed, you know how that goes. Slowly there's sort of like, is any of this real? There's two of the characters who are in the basement. One of them is just using like the worst pickup lines of all time, and the girl's like,
Donna, when are you gonna get out of your head and start thinking with your body?
Please.
not having it until all of a sudden she is, and they start to try to have sex. She's topless. They crash into a wall and a bunch of bodies fall out, and they're like freaking out until they realize that they're fake replicas or whatever from Taiwan or something, maybe China. And they're like, okay, so this is all just a setup. There's a scene where we see Michael Myers walk into the house, and then another Michael Myers walks right behind him, and Busta Rhymes, thinking it's the tripod guy, is like, hey, you're supposed to be out back, get out of here, you'll ruin the whole thing. For some reason, Michael just listens to him and leaves. So Busta Rhymes is trying to scare the kids, but more and more of the teens get killed off until it's just Sarah, and she's like, oh shit, this is all real, we need to get out of here. She's asking Deckard for his help. He's watching online, so he's texting her, telling him where Michael is. They're trying to escape. It seems like Busta Rhymes is killed. He gets stabbed or something. She's trying to escape through this tunnel, but Michael's right hot on her trail until Busta Rhymes shows up, does some kung fu. They get into this little shack where they find that Tyra Banks has been killed. Also, there was a scene where Tyra Banks and Busta Rhymes were just like drinking wine while all of this was happening, as if like setting up this event was the easy part. They should have been paying attention. Whatever. Tyra Banks has been killed. They do a bunch of kung fu and stuff to Michael. There's an electrical fire. He explodes. They escape. Busta Rhymes actually gives like an interesting monologue to the camera. There's like media asking Sarah how she feels about all this. Busta Rhymes talks about how
Michael Myers is not a soundbite, a spinoff, tie-in, some kind of celebrity scandal. Michael Myers is a killer shark in baggy-ass overalls. He gets kicks off of killing everything and everyone that he comes across. That's all. I'm done dancing for these cameras. Let's get out of here, Sarah.
Michael gets carted off to the morgue, and of course the lady's like, oh my god, and then he opens his eyes and he's alive. So there's gonna be a sequel to this one. Nope, because we're now on to Rob Zombie's Halloween, which, you know, all those movies I just talked about, forget them all, this is its own thing. Michael Myers is a little boy in a pretty messed up family. His mom's trying to make breakfast, his dad can't work, he's got like a bad leg and a bad arm, I think. He's talking about how he's seen some sexy lady out at some restaurant or something that he's into. Everyone's just being mean to Michael. It's a bad environment. He goes to school. Junie from Spy Kids is there. He has a cutout of Michael's mom. She works at a strip club, and he's like, I'm gonna make copies of this and give it to the whole school. They get into a big fight. The principal comes in and he's like, stop all of this. Dr. Samuel Loomis shows up, and he is played by Malcolm McDowell in a very bad wig, saying, I want to take care of this boy, I want to make sure things are okay. Michael takes this opportunity to run off. He puts on a clown mask, he meets Junie in the woods, beats him with a big stick, a log, I don't know what's in between those, a limb of some sort. We don't really know if he dies, but he's not left in a good state. That day is Halloween. He goes home and he really wants to trick or treat. His mom is making his sister take him, but his sister's boyfriend shows up and is like, no, we're gonna party. Can't you you're too old for this. So like Michael kind of goes out. Also in the first scene, Michael killed his pet mouse, by the way, or his pet rat. Just to throw that out there. He gets mad. He comes home like later. His dad is asleep. Michael ties him up with duct tape, kills him. Upstairs, his sister's boyfriend and her are having sex. the boyfriend has on what we will know as a Michael Myers mask, just like this one. Michael goes, the boyfriend comes downstairs, Michael kills him, Michael goes upstairs and like weirdly runs his hand up his sister's leg. I don't know about any of that. He kills his sister. He goes to his baby sister's room and he's like, oh, hi, Angel. I'm not gonna hurt you. Puts her back down. Mom comes home. Everyone's freaked out. He goes to Smith's Grove. He spends some time talking to Dr. Loomis there. They're trying to get through all these problems. He's not really saying much. He keeps making these masks. He tells his mom that he makes this mask because he likes to wear the mask to hide how ugly he is. He's not even that ugly. He's a nice looking kid. One day, Loomis and his mom go off and he's left with a nurse. The nurse is kind of mean to him and he stabs her in the throat with a fork. 15 years later, Dr. Loomis is still the doctor. Michael hasn't said anything at all this time. He's still making tons of masks. Loomis tells him that it's time for him to move on to new patients. Also, Danny Trejo plays an orderly at the hospital. He's always nice to Michael. He calls him Mikey. That night, there's a new patient on the ward. Two of the orderlies take her into Michael's room. They rape her, they touch his masks, and one of them calls him a slur, homophobic slur. Michael snaps, kills them both, kills everyone. Danny Trejo shows up and he's like, Mikey, I was always good to you. Michael doesn't care, he kills him, goes back home. He kills Ken Foray in a truck station bathroom, which is just, a nice little horror reference. He goes to his house, he steals Ken Foray's jumpsuit, gets his mask, now he's complete. Now, halfway into the movie, we meet Laurie Strode. She's got her friend Annie, she's got some other friends, she sees Michael around town. Okay, you remember back when I was talking about how the girl who played Jamie wanted to play Jamie again, but she had to get herself emancipated and all that? In the Rob Zombie movie, she plays Annie. So that's fun, right? Most of this is all the same. She takes some paper to drop it off at the Myers house while Michael's there. She's, being attacked. Dr. Loomis is like, we have to go to Haddonfield, we have to stop it. He's doing his Loomis thing. A lot of this stuff is very, very similar to the first one. The boy she's babysitting, Tommy, keeps asking about the boogeyman. And she's like jokingly saying that the boogeyman will kill you, but later she does meet the real life boogeyman. Michael kills all her friends. He chases her down. There's this very, very intense scene, probably the most intense scene in the whole series. He kidnaps her, takes her to some weird sort of shrine that he's made to his family. She escapes. Loomis is there. He shoots Michael a couple times. Eventually, Laurie gets the gun, shoots Michael in the head, point blank range. She screams. He grabs her hand. There's the shot. Michael's dead, right? Halloween 2, the second Rob Zombie one. We open in the hospital. We open with that scream, and then we go into the hospital. Laurie and her friend Annie are having surgery. There's some really grisly stuff here, like bones being pulled out of hands at like this close camera distance. Just all sorts of grisly stuff. Michael's being transported by some paramedics. One of them saying that he's never had the urge to have sex with a dead body until tonight. Not with Michael, but with one of the girls. It's pretty disturbing stuff. They crash the car. Michael gets out. He escapes. He goes to the hospital. Chases Laurie down. She runs around. She's trying to hide. He finds her, stabs her in the stomach, we think, and then she wakes up. We're 25 minutes into the movie, and I guess all of this has been a dream? Maybe? She takes a bunch of pills. Clearly she's not doing well. She's living with Annie and her father now, the sheriff. She's got a new job with some new friends. She's going to therapy. Loomis now has a mustache. He's going on this publicity tour to sell this new book that he wrote about these most recent Halloween adventures. A lot of people think it's in poor taste. A lot of people blame him for what happened. He doesn't care. Michael, we see, is still alive. He's walking around without his mask on, just through some farms and stuff. These farmers try to stop him and kill him. He kills all of them. You know how it goes. Or he starts having these crazy visions of weird stuff. It sort of morphs into her acting out the crimes that Michael committed, but in different ways. Like her killing Annie. It's pretty wild. Laurie and her friends are gonna go to this big concert party thing on Halloween. Loomis is sure that Michael's dead, even though they haven't found the body. He's at some like book signing event, and some guy comes up to him and says, "You killed my daughter. This is your fault." He's got a gun. He says that because of you, my daughter was butchered. In IMDb, someone said that she wasn't butchered, she was strangled. But strangle is butcher. Let's just get that clear. It's just butcher's just to kill someone in a bad way. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've been like chopped up and sold as meat. Laurie's having a really bad time. She finds Loomis's book. She finds out the secret about her identity. She is Michael's younger sister, Angel. Loomis finds this out in the first movie, and that's why he's like making the sheriff do all this stuff. He's doing his Loomis thing. This really upsets her. She goes to her friend's house. She's like, "I just want to chill a night in." And they're like, "Let's go party." So they go to the party. It's cool. There's some funny jokes. There's some good songs. It's like probably my favorite part of the movie. One of her friends goes off with some Wolfman boy. Not Wolfman boy. Well, kind of a Wolfman boy. He's got some van that he keeps talking about how sexy it is. And she's like, "All right, well, let's just do it." And he just keeps saying how sexy it is. He's got to go pee. Michael kills him. Laurie has another like crazy vision. The friend gets killed. Laurie and her friend are like, "Let's get out of here." They don't know that she's been killed, but they just don't want to be there anymore. Annie gets brutally killed by Michael. Laurie goes back home. She finds Annie, and she's like, Annie dies in her arms. Well, she's like, "Get out of here, get out of here." The friend calls the police. There's a scene where like the sheriff is outside, and one of the dispatchers comes, and she's like, "Sheriff, there's something I have to tell you. There's been a 911 call." And he's like, "Did you send someone to go take care of it?" She's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." And she's like, "But it was at your house."
I just got a 911 phone call.
So did you dispatch?
Yes, sir, I did.
So why are you telling me about it?
Because, sir, phone call came from your house.
No.
And it's like, give him this information faster. Anyway, he rushes over there. Annie's dead. Laurie is like under attack. Michael takes her to this shed. There's cops all around, but they can't get a clear shot at Michael. Loomis shows up, and he's like, clearly all this stuff that's been happening is really weighing on him, and despite like this cool macho persona he's been putting on, like this is not going well for him, and he's like, "I need to stop him." So the cops tell him not to go in, but he does. He rushes in. Michael comes out, takes his mask off, tells him to die. First word in 15 years. Stabs him. The cops shoot him a ton of times. Laurie comes out, and she sees another vision of her mom and all of them laying together. And she grabs a knife, and she's walking over towards Loomis, and she gets shot a ton of times by the cops for some reason. She falls, and then we cut to her in an insane asylum, mental hospital. I don't know what to call it. She's all dressed in white, and her mom's like coming up on a horse. And that's the end of the movie. Is it all a dream? Is it all her visions? I don't really know. All right, now it's time to talk about Halloween. No, Halloween. No, Halloween. This is a sequel to just the first movie, so all of these last 9 movies I've talked about, we can just forget about all of that. Laurie attacked Michael. He fell off the balcony, and now it's here 40 years later. She spent all this time, freaked out by this. All this time, Michael has been in maximum security prison, chained up like this. Tomorrow, they're going to transfer him. When will these people learn? 2 true crime reporters come to try to talk to him, even though he's not saying anything. They show him the mask that he wore, and that doesn't have any effect. So they're like, all right, whatever. They go off. Laurie doesn't really have much of a relationship with her daughter. She does have a bit of a relationship, her daughter Karen. She does have a bit of a relationship with her granddaughter Allison. So anyway, Michael escapes. He, kills a mechanic, gets his clothes. He sees the 2 reporters at his sister's grave. He follows them into a truck stop, kills them, or a bathroom, gas station, whatever. Kills them. He does this thing where he drops some teeth into one of the stalls, and it's pretty gnarly. He gets his mask from their car. Now he's all suited up. Deputy Frank Hawkins learns about all of this. He was one of the cops who arrested Michael all those years ago, and he's like, this is not good. He's sort of our Loomis. He's trying to tell everyone how serious of a threat this is. Laurie learns about the escape, and she's like telling her daughter, you have to, this is not good, this is not good. Daughter doesn't care. Granddaughter is going off to some Halloween party. Karen is like, Mom, just move on with your life. Easier said than done when Michael almost kills you this many times. Allison's at a party. She finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her. She leaves with Oscar, her boyfriend's friend. They're sort of just walking home. Her other friends are babysitting a kid, and at this point you have to wonder, what are the parents in Haddonfield doing on Halloween night that they always need babysitting? Like, shouldn't these kids be out trick-or-treating or something? Anyway, Michael finds them and kills them. Deputy Hawkins and Laurie meet up. They hear about this call. They go to the house. They see that the friends have been killed. Laurie and Michael see each other for the first time in 40 years. Then there's Dr. Sartain, who is, he's not a Loomis, but he is Michael's therapist. He shows up. All these people find Oscar and Allison, who Michael finds. He kills Oscar. Hawkins shoots him. He's trying to kill him. Sartain stops him. He attacks Hawkins as Allison and Laurie escape. We learn that he actually plans this whole escape of Michael's, and so that is how this happened. He's obsessed with this power and he wants to see it in real life. Michael doesn't care about any of this. He kills Sartain. He kills a bunch of cops, steals a cop car, goes to Laurie's house. We've got Laurie and Karen and Allison and Karen's husband, who cares, at her house, 3 generations of Strodes. Cop car pulls up. The husband says, "Oh, look, the cops are here. I'll go talk to them." He goes out. Michael kills him. Laurie and Michael have their showdown. They stab each other. He thinks that he's gotten Laurie. He pushes her over a balcony, and then he goes to see, and she's gone. Get it? Like in the first one, remember? Remember the first movie? Do you remember that? Using Allison and Karen, they lure him into the basement, which is like a panic room. They trap him down there. Okay, so they burn the whole house down. Michael is burning alive. They got him. And he's in the basement and he's trapped there. And they escape. They hitchhike away. And then we're looking at the house and we don't see Michael. But he probably just fell down or something, like, you know, as you would do if you were on fire. He's dead. The movie's over. We can just roll credits. Wait, sorry, what was that? Originally this whole thing was supposed to be like half breakdown, half review, but I don't have anywhere near the type of time I thought I would have. So I'm just gonna do 1 word for review free. So the first movie gets 1 word, the second movie gets 2 words, all the way through to the 11th movie. Halloween, classic. Halloween 2, nice sequel. Halloween 3, wait, sorry, what? Halloween 4, Michael's back and boring. Halloween 5, this feels wrong. Kilmore, yeah, his mask looked weird in that movie. I didn't really talk about that too much. And then that cop thing. 6, the most 90s horror movie ever. 7, Laurie's back and this is her plan. 8, Laurie's gone. And why is this a Halloween movie? 9, feels like 2 movies. First, boring. Second is super intense. 10, I guess it was all a dream? I don't know. 11, wow, a real sequel that feels like a Halloween movie. Nice. Yeah, that's the Halloween series. Thanks for watching. Like us on all this stuff, you know what to do, and I'll put the quiz on a little card at the end. Feel free to leave your answers in the comments. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I watched this many hours of movies and turned it into this long of a video, so it was sort of condensed, right? Anyway, thank you. I don't know if I'll do this again. Whoa, what was that? Thank you, and I will see you next class. By the way, if you'd like a way more in-depth overview into all of this, these 2 books are super cool. One of them is about how each movie was made and all that, and then the other one is about 24 sequels that could have been, just at various points throughout the whole timeline. What's truly horrifying is how wrinkled this sheet is.